Hey everyone, it's Ariel here in a Facebook Live. I'm going to talk today about the Yoga Anatomy Academy mentorship. If anybody is online, will you do me a favor and let me know if you can hear me? These headphones are not the best, so I'm really hoping that everybody can hear. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about this 12-week online yoga anatomy mentorship that I run, but first I'll explain who I am and why I run this. So my name is Dr. Ariel Foster. I've been teaching yoga since 2001, and there we go. So I've been teaching yoga since 2001. I teach an interdisciplinary style of yoga. I just call it Hatha yoga or interdisciplinary yoga now. But I studied Kripalu yoga, I studied Anusara yoga, and I studied for my 500-hour with former director of the Yoga Works teacher training. So after all that, I got my doctorate in physical therapy. And since then, I have been treating thousands of patients in a number of different interesting settings. Mostly I work at Georgetown University Hospital now, so a big urban teaching hospital, and I see all kinds of human beings who come in. But I also see a lot of private patients and yoga students, and I work with a lot of bodies one-on-one, in addition to still teaching group classes. So I created this online mentorship in 2015. And I ran it first in the spring of 2016, and then I ran it a second time in the fall of 2016, and I got it massively better between those two. And it went from 10 weeks up to 12 weeks, and then I wasn't able to run it in spring of 2017 because I had a ton of travel coming on. But people were emailing me like once a week trying to know when the next mentorship round would start. So I decided to run it again in the future, or in the summer. And it's been a little bit of a last minute decision. There won't be many live components to the summer program, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everybody who enrolls in the summer and automatically enroll you in the fall, which means that you'll get access to weekly live phone calls. And for the summer, I'm probably going to do a couple of Facebook Lives within our Facebook group. We have a dedicated mentorship group on Facebook, and you get to be in that forever. You get access to the modules, the teaching content as I update it forever and ever and ever. And I just think it's a really, really good program. I also think it's like the highest place where I can offer really skillful, useful information. So what I'm going to first do now that you know who I am, I'm going to describe a little bit about the mentorship. And the first thing to know is that the enrollment for the summer mentorship is closing at midnight tomorrow night. That's midnight Eastern time in the US at in online enrollment for the summer mentorship, because I want to take a little batch of people. It's going to be a small batch of people and move us through collectively. You'll get a weekly email from me reminding you of what to do, who your accountability buddy is if you want an accountability partner, and where to go in the mentorship process each week so that you get some guided instruction. And yeah, it's going to be a really simple structure for the summer, but as I said, in the fall, when you get those weekly emails, they'll also have a weekly announcement about a live event. So basically, the cost is $547, and you get access to life to more than 30 hours of content. You also get the option to do a payment plan. Because the payment plan is more complicated on my part, it's gonna be 3 parts, $199, 3 payments of $199. But you'll still get immediate access to all 12 weeks for the summer school program. This is not just for yoga teachers, although yoga teachers are going to get a ton of benefit out of it. It's also for people who are really serious students of yoga, maybe people who've experienced injuries in yoga. So really, it can be a number of different folks in the program, and that's part of what makes it so fascinating and interesting. We start from the basics. We start basically let me back up even a little bit more about this. You don't have to be like a hardcore anatomy nerd, But my hope is with this mentorship is that it can be a really genuinely supportive environment for anybody, whether you feel confident in anatomy or not confident, where you can ask like really nuanced questions about hyperextension at the elbows, for example, which we'll get into in a moment, or whether you want to talk really specifically about just like what is external rotation in this pose. So that's all of what we cover. We cover all of that. All right, so it's 12 weeks. It's for anybody who has a genuine love of yoga, and will really, really genuinely be helpful and great professional investment for yoga teachers. My hope in teaching is to make all of the content really relevant, really digestible, memorable. Yoga anatomy in general requires a lot of like memorization. But it's easy to remember things when they come alive for you, when they make sense to you. So I think that that's going to be a really powerful part of this process for most participants. It has been a really powerful part. I also think that this is going to be an incredible investment for people who still plan to practice or teach yoga for 10 or 20 or 30 years. If you are really invested in your teaching for a long time or your practice for a lifetime, then you'll benefit because you'll have a lot of just understanding about ways to move through in a safe way. So the ancient lineage of yoga has also involved a lot of mentorship, and that also excites me, that we are in community with one another, that you are supported by a teacher, that would be me, and although I love teaching workshops, I find that this relationship changes everything. I have a relationship with people who I consider my teachers, and it's just tremendous to have this relationship with those of you who teach yoga, who've enrolled in my program. There's about 44 people, I think, who've gone through it, and I've been just so thrilled with each and every one of you. So we learn in the format of weekly videos. We learn in the format of live conversations. I'm going to show you what the videos look like in just a moment. Also, of course, home study. That's the online part. And group discussions in our Facebook group page. And I'm pretty much there for you 24 hours a day. It's not that I'm waking up in the middle of the night and answering questions, but if I don't get to a question within 24 hours, it will almost always be within 48 hours that I respond to your question. So let's go into it. I'm going to read a testimonial from my student and mentee, Kasia. As a novice yoga teacher, I knew it was my responsibility to learn more about the body to keep my students and myself safe. This mentorship filled a big gap in my anatomy knowledge, and it gave me the confidence to lead basic yoga anatomy trainings for new teacher trainees. That is unbelievable. And that's a great way to create a niche in your field. And the mentorship she says the mentorship is well worth the investment. That's Kasia Galicia. She's a teacher and also kind of a fitness guru here in Washington, D.C. So not just my plan, but the reality is that you're going to get lifetime access to all of the materials in the school. There are of course going to be some downloadable materials, PDFs that go each week, but there's also lifetime access to the online forum and lifetime access to the content within Yoga Anatomy Academy. Updated slides, updated recordings, updated mentorship calls. You'll get all of it without ever paying a penny more. So, scrolling down, a couple other testimonials. You know your stuff inside and out, said someone, which is a very sweet thing. I never presume that I know everything, but I'm always going to be offering you whatever I can in terms of my knowledge base. And I'll always be willing to do research to answer in-depth questions. And then second was time just flew by. The 12 weeks flew by. I really enjoyed how you put it in such a way that everything was easy to follow and made so much sense. So, let me flip the camera off me for a moment so I can show you guys, first of all, the inside scoop to the page itself. Sorry, the description page itself. Forgive the socks that are clearly on the table. Okay, so this is the content that's in the mentorship. There's, of course, week 1, introduction orientation, where we're going to go over all the yoga anatomy terms, anatomy terms, how to orient to the body, etc. Then there's week 2, where we spend a lot of time on the spine and the core. That's a pretty intensive module, but it's going to create a really, really solid foundation for going forward. Week 3, an entire module on SI joint and pelvis, then the hips. Of course, the hips and the pelvis relate very, very much to the spine, the knees, the feet and ankles, the shoulders, the wrists and elbows, the neck, respiration and nervous system, fascia and integration. So for those of you who know me, I teach a number of different fascia workshops. I teach about fascia in one of my most popular workshops, which is called Way of the Happy Fascia. I'm leading it tomorrow at Baltimore Yoga Village. It's already sold out, but I have an audio recording of one of my workshops available for purchase at yogaanatomyacademy.com/shop, and it's a really good one. So fascia is also, it's a little bit in the specific in terms of a yoga anatomy training. It's a pretty niche topic, but it's a really important one, increasingly important one. So I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit more so you can see my plants. And I'm going to flip this screen around in just a moment so you can see the inside of the mentorship, what it looks like. So, one more testimonial. This is a quote, okay. Ariel is extremely supportive, having live calls, and this kind of access to such a highly qualified and certified professional is unheard of. That's cool. I guess I don't think of it that way necessarily because I'm used to having my license and my doctorate, but it's true. I mean, I think that this mentorship is really a unique thing. I don't think there's that many folks who have the extensive background in both yoga and physical therapy that I have, and also teaching yoga anatomy and thinking through these things. By the way, it's 30 CEUs, 30. So you'll get a certificate when you fill out this quiz at the end, and the quiz is based on like the micro quizzes that you take throughout that are totally ungraded, and the final quiz you just have to pass like 70% and you will get your certificate. So here's the inside of the training. All right, so this is what it looks like when you get access, when access opens. You'll get immediate access to all 12 modules when you start. And let's click on one of these. So this one here would be a glossary of terms. You can download the PDF. And then it goes through like orienting to the body. I did my very best to make the videos short. Some of them are a little bit longer. Like this one is 15 minutes, this one is 14 minutes. But what's great about it is if you only have 15 minutes one day, you can get through 2 of these. And then the next day you can do another 15 minutes and 15 minutes and then 2 more. You know what I mean? When you have more time, you can do a little bit. Sometimes at the end of a crazy day, I'll watch, I'm flipping it around again. At the end of a crazy day, I like to watch some Netflix and chill. And you know, like one episode of Kimmy Schmidt takes 30 minutes or 33 minutes, or I'm pausing so much to laugh. Honestly, it takes about 45 minutes. So some days you need that, and some days you might just need to sit down and study some yoga anatomy. Or maybe I'm just a big dork. Okay, so back to the screen. Let's actually open up one of these. I'm going to scroll through. Let's go all the way to the very end. I don't think the sound quality is going to be all that awesome, but let's go into the function of fascia and see what happens. So you get this screen. Actually, in this one, it's a little interesting. I popped in a YouTube video at the top, so you can watch that with some really great visuals. And then there's the screen itself where I'm talking about the characteristics of fascia. And it is going, even though you can't hear it. I think I have my computer on mute. So first of all, I explain all the things on the right. And then I add some images. And it goes through a little bit like a lecture. But I'm really explaining things in a very meaningful way. And if you have any questions, you can just ask. I think I embedded that in there. And so then we go back to the slides where I talk about the details. So at the end of each little section, you scroll down and you take a couple of, like this really quick quiz, and you'll find out if you if you understood the information. So fascia is formed and organized via, let's see, is it weight gain, compression, or lines of stress or pull? Let's see if this is the right answer. And so you just check, and it is. Continue. And then there's a couple other quiz questions. That's for every single video. There's little quizzes. It's awesome. And then at the very end, what I did for the last round, which I may do again, or I may do something different. For the last round, I had some folks propose, if they wanted to, a yoga sequence. And I created this format that students could go through. And then they could develop a class that has this anatomic basis. And then this is me chatting back when my hair was down. It was kind of a good hair day. Anyway, I was basically going through the sequence itself and kind of giving my tips on what would work, what might work, what I might change, what would be anatomically awesome, and anatomically maybe room for improvement. So certain people, the people who wanted to do it, got that extra boost of individualized attention right at the end, using this sequence template. I should add that to this description because I personally think the sequence template is really, really awesome. Okay, so now that you've seen the inside of the program, if you have any questions live, you can ask them now. I don't think there's that many people on because I picked a really strange time of day, Saturday, 5:30 p.m. I know, I'm crazy. But if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them now. I think I'll see them pop up, but let me just get onto the Facebook page. Pardon me, I'll be back just one moment. Yeah, I don't see any questions. Okay, so that's it. Enrollment closes at midnight tomorrow night. That is Sunday night, and that is Eastern time. I don't know if my website is smart enough to know how to adjust for time zone. So if you get it for Eastern time, I can promise it will still be open. If it's not Eastern time, I don't know that I can promise that. Yeah, if you are one of my co-teachers at a fellow yoga studio and you happen to have watched this, thank you, thank you. I would love to offer any of my co-teachers at my fellow studio 10% off, so just send me an email. And also email me if you have any questions. You can reach me at info@yogaanatomyacademy.com. You can also reach me at Arielle, ARIELE, at sacredsourceyoga.com. All right, final call for questions. I'm going to take a sip of water. And then let me explain in live format one quick thing that I promised early on in the webinar that I would do in this live webinar. Okay, so I mentioned that I would talk a little bit about hyperextension and the elbow. So you can see my arm. I have a non-hyperextended elbow. It's a nice straight line here from my shoulder all the way to my wrist. And because I have a nice straight line, I don't have hyperextension. So hyperextension, I'm going to see if I can try and show what it is, would be when this bone angles up a lot and that bone angles down a lot. If I get really close to the macro view, yeah, no, it's not looking hyperextended. But anyway, you can imagine someone's elbow kind of goes backwards like that. That's called a hyperextension in the elbow. And when you have hyperextension in the elbow, especially when your arm is behind you, that there is a tendency for yoga teachers to tell you to bend your elbow. But if you bend your elbow when your arm's behind you, your shoulder blade is going to go more into an anterior tilt. Can you see that? I know I'm getting into the shadow a little bit, but if you tilt anterior, then the chest drops down, everything kind of compresses anteriorly. So if you're in Purvottanasana and your elbow is straight, you will actually benefit from keeping the elbow, even if straight for you is hyperextended, you'll benefit from having a bit of a hyperextended elbow here, because up the chain, it's going to keep your shoulder in a happier place. If you bend your elbow, you're going to end up with more anterior tilt. This is for most people. Now, of course, it's individualized person to person, but you don't want to take a cue like unlock your elbows if you have hyperextension there and just apply it without thinking through the consequences up the chain. So those are the kind of subtle questions I like to discuss. I like to answer in my Facebook group, and I like to even make videos for, spontaneous videos for my mentees. So if you're interested, please do genuinely feel free to ask questions about the mentorship. Feel free to look online, yoganatomyacademy.com/product/yoga, online yoga mentorship, I think are the three things. Let me check and see what it is. Yeah, yoga-anatomy-mentorship. I'll put the link below. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste.